Today's topic is all about the voice and the body because I came across a new study and announcement of some research that had been done. And the name of the university is Radboud University. And I didn't really have a chance to look it up. I believe it's in Connecticut. And they did a study, and here's basically what they did. They took some subjects and they had them create a monotone on a note. So basically they just said ah while they were moving their arms up and down and all over the place. I'm not sure if they gave them specific places to move their arms, but they were supposed to keep their voice the same and they moved their arms. Then they had other subjects just listen. And those subjects reported just from hearing that monotone what the vocalizer had been doing physically. And they realized that they could pick up tiny changes in the tone and connect it to where their arms are actually moving. They were accurate if they said, well, their arms have gone low or their arms have gone high. They didn't go into a ton of detail on that. It was more the excitement of the findings that body language is actually heard through the voice. And I'm sure that voice practitioners have known this for a long time. Back when I was studying voice, in like itty bitty, like 10, 11, 12 years old, my voice teacher, when there was a high note, that instead of straining to hit the high note, which young singers, that's what we do. We strain and you see your chin go up. My voice teacher would have me sing the note before and then actually gesture straight forward in front of me in order to kind of tell my brain, don't reach for the note. It's not that high, or, it's even keel to where I was before. The reason they say it works is because it's the acoustics. And the pitch and volume of the voice change when you move your arms and hands. The lead researcher on this, Professor Wim Powell, said the change is very subtle with a wrist movement. It is less subtle with an arm movement. Sort of makes sense. If you're only moving your wrist versus your arm, more vibrations are going to change, more things are going to happen. The pitch jumps up slightly whenever a movement slows down. Now, that I found super interesting, because I would have thought that when you slow down, that your pitch would go down with you slowing down. And so I'm going to need to be experimenting with this a little bit, because it's very interesting to me that slower would be higher pitch. There are some different causes why the acoustics change in the voice. And it has to do with vibrations in the body. And now this absolutely makes sense, right? When you move your arms, when you move your body, the connective tissue, they're saying, that holds your body together, it creates vibrations. And those vibrations end up in your lungs. And that affects the pressure in your lungs, which in turn, of course, it takes breath to create sound as it goes over your vocal cords. So those vibrations change is what is making the change. The second thing that causes a change is muscle tension to retain your balance. Again, fascinating stuff. I may be the only one that really geeks out on this, but think about it. If your muscles in your core, a lot of them have to do with keeping you sitting upright. And when we are moving, we are taking ourselves off balance sometimes, and those movements then are going to create more tension, more muscle movement, muscle activity in order to keep you from falling over. Because if you're leaning over this way and you're going to fall over, then there has to be a muscle on the other side that's going to pull you back. And that extra muscle movement changes the voice as well. So is this very subtle? Of course it is. If you're listening to me go, are you hearing the pitch change as I'm moving? Maybe not, because it's subconscious, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, body movement, our body language that we give and receive is subconscious. So is picking up on that vocal tone. That's also subconscious. You're not thinking to yourself that the pitch is changing. But remember, our subconscious is what's taking us back into our past and is looking for whether we like or dislike the person who is speaking based on past experiences. This is how you use it. Okay, sure, that's what you really want to know. This is how I think, anyway, that this can be used. What does this tell us? First of all, it tells us that we need to move all the time when we are in conversation. I believe sometimes we think when we get on the phone, we can be lazy and just sit back. Well, your listener is picking up on body movements, and the level of energy that you're putting into those phone calls is also going to be influence on the level of persuasion that you have on that call, the level of interest that may come back from the other person. So there are so many people that I know that stand up and walk around while they're making phone calls, right? They put it on speakerphone, or nowadays we wear our earbuds and we walk around the office while we're making calls. And that is great because that's adding the energy. I mean, I've talked about this before, to stand up and to add energy. Well, now we have like some scientific studies of why this is so important, because it's adding to the picture that is going on in the mind of your listener. They are gaining a picture of you, and they're gaining a picture of your energy level. They're gaining a picture of your movement. Are you using your hands? A hands-free is so important so that you can gesture with both hands. If you're in a cubicle or something and you can't really walk around, maybe take the call, transfer to the conference room, someplace where you can wander around when you are in the office. If you are being interviewed, if you're going to be on a podcast and they're not videotaping it, it's difficult to do podcasts where they really just call you on the phone anymore. It's usually a Zoom call or something. But instead of sticking to one spot, if you can, stand up or raise your computer so that you're standing up. You will gesture more. It's going to come through in your voice and you're going to sound better on the podcast. Or if you're being interviewed by a reporter. Many of the interviews that I do these days, I just did one yesterday where they sent me questions and I just typed back and then they choose what they want to use. But one of the interviews I gave last year during the early days of the pandemic was on Zoom communication, body language for the virtual world. And as I was giving the interview, I was wandering all over my living room and dining room and talking on the phone that way, because I wanted to have that energy in my voice. And then the other thing is we also need to then prime the body and the voice, because we kind of don't connect to our bodies and sound together. If we're singing, oftentimes everybody's standing still and they're singing, right? They're in choir, they're just standing there and singing, or they're sitting there and singing and using their voice. Or we're sitting on the phone and we're using our voice and we're speaking. Then we're expected to give a presentation and suddenly the body and the voice are supposed to go together magically because we talk all the time. Well, it's a little bit different. So if you're giving presentations, if you are a public speaker, you need to be warming up the body and the voice. Prime the body and the voice. Oh, if you're doing a video for your website, move beforehand or move during that video. It doesn't have to be wild. I'm not talking about wild movement, but there needs to be life in this video. So many times, and I'm coaching some executives right now before they're getting ready to do a video. And in the past videos, they've been sitting here like a lump, and they're not moving. Hey, Nancy is here on Facebook, so thank you very much for shouting, letting me know you're here. That makes me feel good. But yeah, don't sit like a lump. I don't know why people just sit, and then I can even scoot back a little bit. You know, they just sit there, and then they answer comments, and there's kind of like no movement going on in the video. And that really makes me want to use your company. It really makes me want to stop and watch the video when all the people that are talking just are talking heads. You don't want to do that. You need to show the passion for your company. And again, it doesn't have to be wild. It just needs to be a little bit. Just put a little bit of movement into your daily lives, and your voice, they're going to pick up on it. Your voice is going to come alive just that much more. The body-brain connection, here's the other thing that we know, is that the higher your hands generally go, the higher your voice tends to follow. Ladies, this can be an issue for us. We tend to gesture a little bit higher anyway, and then our voice tends to follow with it and go a little bit higher. Therefore, if your outcome, think about what you want the presentation to do, either how you want your audience to feel, or whether you need to inspire them, whether you need to calm the situation down. This is a really fun comment. Nancy says, I've never been accused of being a lump. Good job. Thank you for moving. That makes me feel good because I am, of course, out there telling everybody to get moving a little bit more. But what is it that you want your audience to do after, even if it's just a meeting? Are you out there to inspire them? Are you sharing some bad news? Are you trying to calm the situation from something that had happened the day before? Have in mind what it is that you want to do, because if you need to inspire them, maybe a little bit higher energy or gesturing higher brings in a little bit more excitement. It brings kind of the passion out and things. You know, it's that go team, right? We rise up when we want to inspire. You don't generally see people saying go team with their hands down, you know, go team, go get them. You're not gesturing low for that. However, if you're looking to calm a situation, you probably want to have your gestures a little bit lower. And that slow down, raising the pitch thing is weird, because normally I would tell people to also slow the rate of their voice when they want to calm things down. So I'm going to have to do a little more research on that one. But think about what it is that outcome is, and then you can move your body accordingly, whether you're live in front of them or not. And so many times we have these conference calls where some people are in the room and some people are offsite, and they're just coming through the speaker in the middle of the table. And that's where you really can use this to your advantage, because you can physically show the excitement or your passion for what it is that you are talking about to the people in the room. But when you're moving, then it's also going to come through your voice, and it's going to resonate with the people at home or wherever they are at other offices around the world. Ooh, this is a great question. I'm going to go ahead and show it so everybody can read it. Nancy's saying that I've noticed that I seem to give greater credence to deeper women's speaking voices than higher. Is that a common perception or just my personal bias? I personally believe in general that this is quite common, that there is a gravitas and an age and a wisdom that we associate with lower tones. We also associate more calm, more, yeah, I guess that wisdom, that there's a sense of age with lower tones. And luckily, kind of part of that is because with age, our voices do tend to drop a little bit more, or we have learned over time to settle in and use our chest resonance and all of those things. It could become a bias if you are, I guess, if you are discounting someone's comments if they don't have that sort of voice. The other place that I think this can intersect is generationally, because the younger folks, particularly younger women, tend to have higher voices. It's also part of those trends that came through a while back with the like that sort of Valley Girl thing from the, what was that, the 90s, with everything having an upturn at the end. Everything was a question and the voices were higher, and it became and part of this is because, you know, things like SNL and other shows would make fun, and there are a lot of parodies about young women. Oh my God, did you hear that? Oh, my friend so-and-so, and all this kinds of thing. I don't do it very well. Not a very good Valley Girl. When people have that going up at the end, and it tends to make people take them less seriously because they're turning everything into a question, and it gives them usually. So Nancy, thank you so much for being here today. Everybody should be inspired to move when they're on their calls today, to warm up the body and the voice. Maybe we'll spend some LinkedIn Lives doing some movement stuff and just getting ourselves warmed up for the day. All right, so we're going to wrap it up because my phone is ringing, and I know it's my husband because he's already called my phone. So I'm going to hang up. Have a great day, everybody. Nancy, thanks so much. And we'll see you next week, same time, 8 a.m. Central or 9 Eastern. Take care, everybody.